Okay, this is the last part of the option fever dream for today. And I'm just going to hold this camera like this. I'd rather have my left hand ready. But again, when you're hay baling, okay, the guard will pick up the run through because he's going to step with the inside foot, just like we did in like the 80s once we learned it from Oklahoma. No problem. The problem is the tackle when he shuffles in, and some people call this a gallop, but a gallop for me is something different. But when he shuffles in, when he steps with this foot first and that leg open, he's got the wrong leg open for the tight skin by the three technique. Okay, so he can't get in front of that, right? And you get penetration, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Okay, what we want to do is skip, and skip might solve this. When you're blocking back, power play, whatever, skip might solve this alone without doing what the rest of it that I'm going to talk about. But let's just say he skipped into it. So if he moves this foot first, he can adjust for depth with this foot, so he can cover that guy if the guard disappears. All right. Personally, when you do this, I'm not sure if all that machinery will work. Okay, and that brings us to our next deal. Okay, let's say we brought the center front side and sort of veer block, like the old wishbone kind of blocking. Okay, where we're going to get an apex right here and knock this dude into the gap. Well, if we do a good job of knocking him into the gap, we don't want the center getting picked by him. Okay, we want the center to get through to the backer. We don't want the center immediately. We do what we call a rake. We step, it's basically a slide step, but we're not stepping deep for the spike. We don't care. We want the spike to come. Remember, the guard, these two guys are forming an apex. Okay, and then when this thing unfolds, these two guys are forming an apex. So the apex side of this thing, we would like that three technique to go into the gap and have the guard wash them out, but we don't want the center picked. We want one guy on the front backer, one guy on the back backer. Okay, so by doing this, stepping back and raking, it's not really a rewind. It's a rake. I don't know what else to call it. He'd use his left shoulder and forearm, or his left hand, or whatever you want to do. He'd roll the shoulder down, the left shoulder down, and go, but he doesn't want to mess with this at all. Okay? Otherwise, you get a big wad here. Okay? That's what we do. We don't want a wad in the A gap. Now, if the thing went the other way, these two guys would sort it out. He'd wind up on the three technique. He'd wind up on the backer. He'd grab the nose, and this guy, starting on the Apache, which would have been a skip, he can put the second foot in the ground and either rewind all the way back to help him if the backer disappears, or work up to the backer if he's got this thing under control. Of course, he's skipping, so that's no problem on the pickup. The problem would be getting run down. That was the old problem in the option. Okay, so you might have to add a blocker. All right, it's just the way it is. And the other problem would be if there's a mugger here, do you want the guard to handle it or do you want the center? I'd rather have the guard handle it in option football. In zone football, I'd rather have the center. Okay? All right. Now, just going to a different problem, okay? It's option fever day, all right? When you have a four-man side, okay, four guys over three, you got to bring somebody over. Now, in zone football, it's not a big deal because the thing gets stretched way out here and gets cut back lanes and a whole bit. The center takes one, whatever. But in option football, it's a different deal. You want to isolate the read key. So what Air Force did, they took their sniffer guy. He was actually a wing, like a little dude. Put him foot to crotch, and they ran a chip combo. Okay, step with the inside foot, come back, roll the shoulder down, chip him, work off slow, pick up any run-throughs, and he'd just come down and waylay this dude. And a lot of times they would just bring that thing way back. you can't really have him sweating the backer scrape. Okay, you got to have great movement and see if you can beat the backer scrape with the runner. Okay, but if this man disappears, if he spikes or if he really rides, and he can define it with a hammer. Okay, they hammer it and just stay on your course. Don't chase. Stay on your course. And of course, you read this guy, or you can add another blocker like Air Force did and just block him and hand the ball off, or read the next guy. And if he gets nosy, pull the ball and get outside. You could block him with the tight end and tell him to go block that strong safety and have the quarterback just follow it. The big problem with all of this is getting chased. Okay, but if you have this backer out, they know it's a burglar. We used to call it a bandit. Okay, the bandit's out. These guys are going in. All right, and it's not zone. It's not zone. It's not veer. It's veer. That's what it is. Okay. So anyway, when you have a 4-man side, just move the mesh from here to here. I don't want to say B gap. Okay, from A gap to inside leg of the tackle. All right, and it's easier to get wide if you're tight than it is to get tight if you're wide. So when in doubt, tighten that pass up. And the mesh is just a little wider. It's a little bit different read. It obviously at a pistol, you could probably do it. You could probably do it from sidecar, but you probably have to back this guy up a little bit. Okay. Now, I don't know what this thing is, but it just showed up. All right. The beauty of this deal right here, okay, the hay bale would be 5 down because you can knock this guy sideways, okay, and even if he's trying to really sit in the gap, he's going to get a face full of guard, and he's going to get an angle blocked by a tackle, and it's going to knock him over. These guys just got to hang on. They just got to make sure there's no run throughs, squeeze the backside, or hinge the backside, or if there's noise, tell them to squeeze it. Just the hell with this guy. Just squeeze the gaps off. But you don't want to get the thing pushed past the apex. You want it all to collapse and isolate him. And the option release is go inside. If this man shows in, it's going to get a pull read. Put the brakes on. Step outside. Block for a quarterback. Okay? Should be a disconnect. The tailback gets in front of the quarterback too. Okay? It's a basic option release. To me, that's the end of my fever dream option. I don't know if I'll ever coach it again, but that's for you.